Okay, I'm facing that way or turning around? I sit down and turn around, I assume. Okay. Okay. Gosh. That's a bright sun over there, but yeah. So, you know, I guess part of this is that at some point, everybody that knows me knows I've wanted to write forever. And whether to write about my life or to try and make fiction out of my life, I know that I've had experiences that a lot of people haven't had. I've done a lot of different things in my life. If I had to summarize it or whatever, I don't know. I've always kind of considered myself a pseudo history. Anyway, so since this is the first shot, this is a dumb subject, but it's about my youth and where I grew up a little bit, which was in a little town in northwest Florida, 6,000 or 8,000 people. My father was a Georgia Tech engineer, Renaissance man, educated. I grew up with like a library of 5,000 books around me, 20 musical instruments, a Yankee mother who had married a Georgia Tech engineer working for General Electric in Schenectady, New York, and brought her back to Marianna to start a sawmill with his brother, who was also a Georgia Tech electrical engineer in Marianna, Florida. So that's where I grew up, in this little town. And since my son has prompted me to start this, I'm just searching for something. So I guess the first thing I just out of the blue would talk about was my big secret as a kid. I was always a little tall, and I was very athletic, and I was, as my mother described me, I was just always happy. And I had lots of friends and did lots of stuff in this small town, all of it outdoors. I was a quote-unquote star baseball player who hit a big home run one time, which is a story in itself, and took our team to the state championship in Little League Baseball. I was popular. I did all sorts of stuff, but I had a big secret, and that was that I was a very late bedwetter, and it was a big secret. It was the last thing in the world I want anybody to know. And this is like until I think I was probably 11 or 12 when I finally quit. And so what it's about is, I used to wake up in the middle of the night just soaked, and there were a few times when I'd get up and be an asshole and go over and throw my brother out of his bed into mine and get in his dry bed. And I was always scared to go and spend the night at other kids' houses because I was sure I would wet the bed. It was probably pretty much every night. And I was I guess a very sound sleeper because I was asthmatic at the time, and by the time I really got to sleep, I was dead tired most nights, I guess. Anyway, I was a bedwetter, and there was one horrendous experience when I got invited to go deep sea fishing with one of my buddies. We went out in the Gulf of Mexico, and it was a spend the night on the water thing. And I remember catching a great big mackerel and just it being so damned exciting. But then it got late and it's time to go to bed, and I was just scared to death to piss in these people's boat. And I remember actually not drinking anything and then going to sleep and just saying I'm not going to sleep all night, and kept myself up half the night just scared to death to go to sleep, and did not wet the bed. but it was just awful. And this was a problem. I remember being taken to a dentist in Dothan, which was about 30 miles away from Marianna, where I grew up, Marianna, Florida. And going to a dentist, our dentist, who I visited a lot because I had shitty teeth, and he was a hypnotist. And Dr. whatever his name was spent 2 or 3 sessions hypnotizing me to persuade me to quit wetting the bed, which obviously didn't work. Then I had to go to the doctor. I went, my doctor, what are we going to do with him? This is 10 or 11 years old, and I remember them sticking a glass tube down my penis for whatever reason, I don't know what. But I mean, that night, after they'd done that, whatever they were trying to figure out, it was like pissing alcohol. I mean, it was like my dick was on fire when I peed that night. I also remember them giving me a clamp to put on my penis when I went to bed, which was, I mean, it was literally a clamp that shut with rubber on it, and it would just clamped on my penis, which I don't think I made it through more than one night with that. I mean, it was heavy, and it was like impossible to go to sleep with it on. Anyway, the point of this story is how I quit wetting the bed. Haha, great story. And what happened was, immediately after that clamp thing, what they told me was, and this was stupid, this was not medicine at its best. The doctors, I guess my GP, well, there was no urologist then, the GP figured out we need to operate on him. And so they made arrangements for me to go to Tallahassee, Florida, which was 70 miles away, and spend a weekend, get operated on. I don't know what they were going to do, route it out or what, but get operated on and then come home. And the honest to God truth is, the way I quit wetting the bed was, here comes a neighbor. The way I quit wetting the bed was, I was scared to death to tell all my buddies. I ran with there were no girls at that time. We had the neighborhood gang, and I couldn't lie. And I did not want to tell any of my friends why I was going to Tallahassee for 2 days. And I never did. And unbelievably, that weekend was the last time I ever wet the bed. And that concludes episode 1. What the hell is this anyway? Yeah, so I really think that I've got, years ago I made notes, just pages and pages, 5 or 6 of phrases, just remembering all the lots of little things about, particularly growing up in that little town. And I guess some of it, I mean, I just skimmed through it, and some of it looks halfway interesting. So that's today. The life of a pseudo hippie. That's what this will be.